If you're preparing for AQA English Language Paper 2 and not sure how to approach it, this will really help. In this video, I break down exactly how to tackle each question step by step, based on my experience as a teacher of over 25 years and as an examiner. These are the strategies that help students move up the grades, not just understand the paper, but perform under pressure. So paper 2, often people feel this is a bit more challenging, partly because there's two sources to read. So you've got more to keep in mind. And also one of the sources is usually 19th century. So it's the language is perhaps a little bit more challenging. And so what I've thought of doing today is actually giving some strategies on how to approach each question. Because I think if you've got a really clear strategy of what to do, it reduces that sort of cognitive overload,
Yeah.
And so what I say for starting paper 2, do question 1 first before reading both sources, because that reduces the cognitive overload. You've just got to read the first bit of section A, and there's the question 1 is an easy start in. It's a sort of, an easy win. There's 8 statements. You have to choose the 4 that are true. But you've got to be careful, because sometimes they'll make a statement that sounds almost true, but you've got to
So
read.
this is completely separate to the other questions then. This is like
Yes. So for paper 2, the first question is you have to read a section of source A, and then you've got some statements, and you choose the 4. So I say do that question first before reading both sources, because otherwise you read both sources and then you have to come back, and you've got all of that in your mind and you're trying to hold it, and then you're coming. So do that question first, and yes, just read it carefully, choose, but that should get you off to a quick win.
Okay.
And then question 2 is then you're having to read both sources, and it's a summary question. So I say actually come back to do question 3 next, because question 3 is you just have to look at one source. And it's usually, not always, I have to say, it's usually source A. So question 1, source A. Question 3, it's normally source A. So you read the whole of it, and it's the language question. So it's very similar to paper 1, question 2. It's asking you how the writer uses language. So in the November 2017 paper, it was a description of a teacher, and it said, how's the writer use language to describe Sister Brendan? I would do that question next, because you've still got that, you've just got one.
You're just focusing on that one source. Don't have to stress about anything else.
Yes.
So question 1, then question 3, hopefully,
Yeah.
if it's source A.
Yes, I can't promise, because I've been back through all the papers and it's usually source A, but not always. Occasionally it's source B. But it's still, you've just got to hold one source, one text in your mind. So I'll do that. And obviously for the technique for that is it's the same as what I said for paper 1, question 2. The mistakes students make are they spot the techniques. They think, oh yes, a simile, yes, a metaphor, and they don't go on to say what's the effect of it.
It's like half answering.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the second bit is actually what gets you the marks. So, if I'll give you an example, with this paper, November 2017, they asked about, how language described Sister Brendan, and she was compared to a blackbird out for the early worm. This is when she was around. And yes, people say that's a simile, but you've got to say why. Why is she, what's the effect it has? Well, obviously, she's described as a small woman, and you can imagine her sort of sharp little movements, and that she's small. But also out for the early worm. Well, she was really, really hyper alert, and no student was going to get away with anything with her around. So that if you can sort of show more than one interpretation, that's what gets you into the top grades. Spotting the techniques first, fine.
That's your basic.
But then, yeah, absolutely. Then what's the effect? And if you can give a second effect or another effect, that's even better. So yeah, so that's the language question. And then I would go back to question 2, which is the summary. And now for this question, the mistake people make is that they write too generally. And for this, you've got to read the both full passages.
Yeah.
And the passages are usually, well, they are on a similar subject. So this paper, it was on two schools, teachers. So it was on teaching and two schools. And one is written from, 19th century. So it's different in that way. But they've obviously often got the writers have got very different perspectives. And what with this paper, because I think it's easier to give examples.
Yes, absolutely.
The first passage was a passage from Gervais Finn, he was an inspector, and he was going into this school. It was in a deprived area, and it was a beautiful school, and it was really well run, and the students were really engaged. And then this other passage was this teacher who was in a school which was an absolute nightmare. I mean, the behaviour was appalling. It was actually dangerous, and the question was, summarize the behaviour of the students. And the mistake that students made with this question is that they were sort of writing about the teachers, they were writing about the environment. It's just focus on the behaviour. It's not summarising the whole of the passages. So yes, that would be my tip for question 2.
It's RTQ, isn't it? Read the question.
Yes, absolutely right.
Yeah.
Have your highlighter. Yeah.
And they blurt it all out, and they just don't. You've got to spend those few seconds just really focusing on that question. What do they want me to answer?
Yes. And for that, it's not analysing the language. It's just being able to select the relevant information. And in that case, it was the behaviour of the children, and those students who were able to do that. And it's 8 marks. It's 10 minutes. You haven't got time to write about the whole of the school. So yes, and comparing it. Source A, the students for this, whereas, and source B.
And reference. This is A. This is B. And for every point, you've got to compare both, haven't you?
Yes, absolutely.
An example. Absolutely. This is what this is, and then it's like this in this one. Yeah.
Yes.
It's the same science techniques.
Yeah, so that's so interesting, isn't
it? You've got a compare question. You have to reference that this is for this and this is for this heartbeat or whatever it is. Yeah.
So that's questions 1, 2, and 3. Now, question 4, again, this is the hard one. I would say it might be the hardest question across obviously it's different for everybody, but it's, again, you're having to keep 2 sources in your head, and it's asking you to compare the perspectives of each writer. And so it's the attitudes. So the mistake people make here is that they sort of write a summary of paper, the source A, and write a summary of source B, or it becomes too descriptive. It's got to be analytical, this question. First of all, you've got to think, what is the perspective of each writer? Obviously, the perspective of the writer with that teaching example I gave, it was written from the perspective of the inspector, and he was really impressed with the school. And so first of all, you've got to stand back and think, what is the attitude of the writer? The other writer was this teacher who was absolutely not coping, was feeling in danger, was being attacked by the student. It was just so, that's the first thing. You work out what is the attitude of the writer. And then this is the important bit. How do they communicate that attitude?
Yeah.
What language devices, what do they,
I suppose
it's focus on?
Yeah, it's reading something, going, right, this is how I feel from reading that.
Yes.
How they made me feel like that.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. So a lot of people can pick up on the attitude, but you've got to think about how, what techniques, what.
And what do you have to commonly, what's a good thing to help them identify that? Are there special?
Well, I would look at the words that you're using, the vocabulary, the diction, which is basically Portuguese word for the choice of words. So, I mean, with that example, Gervais Finn, when he was an inspector, he described the school as an oasis. Now, he's not telling us, I'm impressed with this school. He's not actually stating. So you as a reader, you're having to infer choosing that word oasis, you think, now, what do I think of when I think of an
Oh, sorry,
oasis?
I just think of a 90s band. Sorry.
Yes. Yes. No,
Sorry.
hopefully that's not the intent.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but no, it's you think, oh, it's something beautiful and
Mm,
lush and green, and where there's lots of life, and so you're able to, you're using inference skills. That obviously that means he's seeing this at school. Yes, it's in a very deprived area, and everything is derelict around it. Just like in an oasis,
mm.
everything is a desert
Yeah,
around it.
desert. Yeah, and you've got this
Yeah,
little bit
and
in the middle that's flourishing, water,
exactly,
plant.
exactly, yes.
Yeah.
That word flourishing is exactly what the sort of thing that the
Mm.
examiners were looking for,
And I
because the
guess
school was
this
flourishing.
is
Yeah.
something as well, like the word oasis. Oh, it's like, do the students know what that word means? And this is where reading
Yes.
and if you don't get a word or you come across a word you don't
Yeah.
know, it's learning and being strong enough and confident enough to go, right, I'm going to look that up or I'm going to search
Yes.
what that is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
important to know those individual words, even like with my,
Yeah.
again, always reference science. It's like there's a new word.
Yeah.
Let's look up, I always check with the students, like, do you know what that means? What
Yeah.
yield? No one knows what yield means. It's like
Oh God.
it's like
Yeah.
it's the product, what you're making. It's
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
yeah. But this is what I
Yeah.
always check because I
Yeah.
think there is a lack of reading.
Yeah.
People don't read as much, and I'm guilty of that.
Yeah.
I just can't sit down. I don't have time to read anyway. But
Yeah.
it is the lack of reading that just influences
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
vocabulary.
Yeah, you are right. And I think, yes, obviously, if you didn't know what that word oasis meant, then you
Yeah.
would you would choose something else. There's enough, there would be enough in the passage for you to be able to
Okay.
pick other
That's
pick other
reasonable.
examples. You wouldn't think, well, that would be the only. But that is a very good point, actually, you make,
Mm,
because reading, those students who read widely are at a significant advantage.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and even if you can read for 5 minutes a day, or listen to audiobooks. I've always got an audiobook on the go, and you get them free. There's Libby and there's Borrow Box, where you can borrow
My partner
audiobooks
listens
free.
to like
Um,
audiobooks at night time on YouTube.
yeah.
So
Oh
there's
yeah, yeah. I thought about that. Yes. Yeah. So yeah. So I think
for
you're
me,
right.
I need to see the word to actually digest it. Or I
Oh, I
struggle
see.
with audiobooks.
Oh, do you? Oh, I
Yeah.
love
Yeah,
audiobooks.
yeah, I
Yeah.
would love to because of dog walks. I listen to podcasts, that's fine.
Yeah.
Ish. As long as it's not too serious, because my focus just go doo, doo, just I can't retain it. But again, it's like I have to look at the word, visualize it for it
Yeah.
to go in.
Yeah. I think it is better to actually,
Mm,
in terms of developing your vocabulary, if you're actually
yeah,
looking at the word
yeah.
rather than just hearing it.
And then it's
But
spelling as
certainly,
well. I'm terrible at
that's
spelling.
true.
And if
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
see it, then I know how to spell it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's good fun.
Yeah. But yeah, so question 4, it's yeah, it is about working out, first of all, what the different perspectives are, and then actually thinking, how do they convey those perspectives?
Mm,
I give an example. If you're in your real life, you actually can very quickly work out what the mood of somebody is.
yeah.
If you're in a classroom and a teacher storms into the classroom, slams the door, slams the books on the table, glares at the class, you know that they're not in a good mood, don't you?
Yeah. So that's just me every day. I
Um,
don't teach in the classroom, but this is me at home. It's like
yeah.
not happy.
Um,
No, that's not.
so that's basically, you're able, most people will be able to read somebody's behavior and think,
Yeah,
oh, they're not in a good mood.
yeah,
And it's in when you're reading a passage, it's the same thing. You can pick up, what is it,
yeah,
what words is the writer using to
yeah,
convey that.
yeah. And
Uh,
practice papers and practicing that question 4, you'll
yes,
develop the skills and be able to identify. Because I think, for me initially,
absolutely.
I'm like, I would need to practice doing that
Yes, yes,
because you'll
absolutely.
probably
Yeah.
miss things and stuff. So
Yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
think you
practice, practice.
absolutely do. Yeah. The
Mm,
more you practice, it's like any skill, isn't it? The more you
yeah,
practice, the better you get at it.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But yes, it is. It is a tricky question, but I think, if you follow the sort of the guidelines and have a structure in place for answering it, you'll be fine. And then obviously question 5, this is the big one. This is 40 marks. And I
Oh,
know, as I said with paper 1, I think some students are advised to do that question first because you
mm,
don't want to run out of time and miss, and actually not have the time to get those as many of those
yeah,
40
yeah.
marks as possible. I say the same as I said for paper 1. I don't advise doing it first because you've been questions 1 to 4 have sort of warmed your brain up
Yeah.
for how how the writers have conveyed information, how they've got across
Mm,
their ideas. And then you've got your chance to do it in
mm,
question 5. So I think if you go straight into that without the sort of the warm up, it's not impossible, obviously, but I think it's
mm,
better.
mm,
And usually what you're being asked to write, what the non-fiction piece of that you're asked to write is in some way linked. So for that one on teaching, you've had two articles on 2 different
mm.
schools, and then in that section B, you're asked to write about your ideas on education. So do you see what I mean? It sort of primed your
It's linked.
brain.
Yeah,
What makes a good education? Well, you've just had 2 different articles that you've read.
yeah.
Um,
So
so
is this like you've got to make it up?
usually, I mean, from my experience, they will try. The examiners aren't there to try and trip you up. They
No.
want to try and make it as accessible as possible for
Mm.
all students to be able to write something. So they're not going to ask you to write a non-fiction piece on something so esoteric that you're not, you'd have to do a month's worth of research to be able to
Yeah,
write. No, it's going to
yeah,
be it's going to be on something that that you've got experience on, maybe social media, maybe
yeah,
education, maybe what you're doing in the school holiday, how to make the most of your school holidays, or
yeah.
something that is that students can write. But
They can link
uh,
to, they can relate to.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So I would say, yeah, do question 5 last,
yeah.
but make sure you've been strict with the timings and you've left yourself enough time.
Absolutely. I think, yeah, I
Um,
think this is definitely timings is, I think so. So how many marks overall and how much time do you get in paper 2?
okay, so you've got 80 marks over it's 1 hour 45 minutes.
Okay.
Um, so section B, it's meant to be 45 minutes because they count 15 minutes for reading. They're like, obviously you can spend how much time you want to do with the reading,
Mm, mm.
but that's, the examiners say spend 15 minutes on reading. Um, so yeah, so 45 minutes. You've got to really, you have got to spend time planning.
Yeah.
I'd say spend 5 minutes planning. And yes, the mistakes that people make is what I've seen so often is that they um they don't decide on a standpoint. So it might
Mm.
be a statement like, oh, what makes makes a good education, and write a speech for the leavers assembly and explaining what you think makes a good education, and they've got sort of flip-flop between different ideas. And I think really if you've got a clear standpoint, a clear line of argument, it helps you with the structure.
Do you think, well,
um,
I know with our science, we like with our 6 markers, it's like you need a minute to brainstorm, like,
mm,
also like blurt it all out on the paper that
yes,
I did. And then from that, you can go, oh, yeah, I
yes,
like that. I like that. I like that.
yes, yes.
Is that something you recommend as well for?
Absolutely, yes. Yes. I mean, the planning, yes, it feels when you're in the exam, it feels like a waste of time. It feels like just got to get started. I've only got 45 minutes, but actually it's an investment in time. It's not a
Yeah,
waste of time.
yeah,
It's really, and it pays dividends.
yeah.
You really,
Where
those
do I
people who
write
don't.
the notes? Is there like pages at the back or
No,
what?
there's just plenty of space. You can just do,
Okay,
use the first. I mean, there's so many pages, you can just use the first page.
okay.
However you brainstorming or spider diagram or whatever. But the other tip I would say, and this was something that I found really surprising because I experimented telling my students you can adopt a persona. So if you are asked
Mm.
to write about the dangers of too much screen time, you could decide, right, okay, I'm going to write as a parent of 3 teenagers.
Yeah,
And
right back from your
yeah,
perspective.
yeah. And actually, you would think, I thought, oh, they might find this actually more difficult. But no, strangely, the results I got from students when they adopted a persona, their writing went up.
Oh,
And you would think it would be more difficult, but actually, it sort of gave them more freedom. It made them
yeah.
feel they don't.
It's like writing your personal statement, isn't it? You're writing about yourself, and I think people find it really hard to write about themselves.
Yeah.
So, oh, I
Yes.
want to tell people about that, or that's a bit.
Yeah.
So if they can make up a fictional character, and then they
Yes.
can go crazy because it's not them.
Exactly. Yes.
Mm.
And so that was very interesting, and it
Yeah.
did sort of just give them. Yeah, it was just they were not limited, I suppose, by their own views. It
Mm.
gave them
Mm.
that bit of freedom, and yeah. But if they do need to have a clear line of argument, and obviously all those techniques that they've looked at, there's an acronym called DAForest, which goes through all the different I don't know whether you've heard of that, but
No,
it's
no.
direct address, anecdote, alliteration, facts and opinion, and it's just all the different techniques,
Yeah.
rhetorical questions, anecdotes. You don't need to use all of them. In fact, that would be too much.
Mm.
But you do want to use a few, two or
Yeah.
three, deliberately, because this is where you're crafting your writing. This is what the examiners want to see to get to the top grades.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
whether you're sometimes people start with an anecdote, and that's very engaging
Yeah.
because stories draw people in,
Yeah.
and obviously you've got to make it so that it actually makes the point.
Yeah. Having
And
a,
repetition.
yeah,
So
having a clear sort of objective and then work around that is
yes,
critical for question
yes.
5. Okay.
Yeah, and rhetorical questions and
Mm.
these sorts of persuasive devices. And I said to prepare for this, I would read what first of all I would read nonfiction, whether you're
Mm.
reading blog posts or whether you're reading newspaper articles or speeches, and go on YouTube and listen to speeches and
Mm.
look and listen to the way speakers use language to persuade and to
Yes,
influence.
persuasive language. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean. I don't know whether you've ever listened to the Martin Luther King speech, I Have a Dream.
Yeah.
Oh my word. I mean that I used to show that to my year 11s, and every time I showed them I'd be crying, they say,
Yeah.
"Oh, Miss, you crying." And
We're too
no, no, I'm
emotional.
not, no, I'm not crying. I'm not crying.
I'm not crying.
But
Got something
yeah.
in my eye.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's the language you use,
Mm.
and it's repetition. I have a dream each time. There's a posh word for that. That repetition at the beginning of a sentence is called anaphora, and it's the way he uses "I have a dream," and each time it's so
Yeah.
emotive, and you are swept along.
It's quite
with,
it is,
with
is a really effective way to do speeches and
yeah,
having that line and you keep repeating
yes,
it and you keep
yes,
repeating it. Yeah.
yes, yeah. So
Okay.
you know, using techniques like that is just yeah, that's the sort of thing the examiners are looking for.
Mm.
Yeah, but yeah, those are
Wow.
sort of my top tips. I don't know whether there's lots of other things that you can
Oh,
do.
I'm sure there is, but you
Yeah,
can, you probably share that more on your course, which I
yes,
know we haven't
absolutely.
mentioned, but there is you do an amazing English language revision course, 12-week
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
Also, find it on your website, but also on National Tutors as well.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. I mean,
and I know
that's
without
take you through everything.
ProMed, they also take exams in November as well, and maybe in January. So
Yeah.
this course can be.
Absolutely. Well, it's the complete package. It takes you through the exact things you need to go
Yeah.
through for each question. The questions have been updated for 2026. So although we do use past exam papers, the questions are because some questions have been slightly changed for the better, I have to say.
Mm.
And so those questions have been updated. And I've also give for every question there are model answers.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
and
it's
I
really
think that's
good.
really helpful to see what's expected.
Very much so.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah,
Another powerful chat and
yeah,
lots of top tips. Love the collaboration. And
yeah.
yeah, it's going to help so many people.
I
So
hope so.
yeah, subscribe to our YouTube channel and sign up
Absolutely.
to your revision course, 100%.
Yes.
Amazing. But
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Oh, it's lovely to talk to you as
Yeah,
always.
always,
Yeah.
always. Thank you very much.
Yeah, take care.
Bye.
Bye.
It's not. Oh.